PCV2 evolution is a continuous process. When PCV2 was discovered for the first time in 1998, people have not used the sequencing tool very often. Later, in the early 2000s, people started to use Sanger sequencing more often to characterize PCV2. And at this point, the researchers found out that there are two different PCV2 types. PCV2a, which is the old PCV2, and PCV2b, which was an emerging PCV2 strain at that time and associated with major outbreaks of disease in North America and also in Europe. Later, when the evolution of PCV2 continued, researchers found that there are at least 8 different PCV2 genotypes, and that is the status of knowledge as of today. There is a PCV2a, a PCV2b, C, D, E, F, G, and H. Among all of these 8 today known genotypes, there are 3 genotypes that are especially important. There is the PCV2a because it used to be the most prevalent genotype in the pig population until around 2000 to 2005, when there was a major PCV2 genotype shift. The PCV2 genotype shift was due to PCV2b emerging and causing major outbreaks. Then the major genotype was PCV2b, and only in 2012 PCV2d was considered to become important. Since that time, PCV2d has managed to become the most prevalent PCV2 genotype in the pig population worldwide in all major pig-producing areas, and this is the status of today. PCV2 virulence is an important factor that was considered by many different groups, because when it was discovered that there is a PCV2b, people were very concerned that the PCV2b is more pathogenic than the PCV2a, and that would explain the major disease outbreaks in many pork-producing regions on a global basis. So we did studies in the early 2000s, and we compared PCV2b and PCV2a in the conventional pig model, and we found that there was no difference between the two genotypes. However, we did find, when we compared different strains of PCV2a and different strains of PCV2b, that within each cluster one can find differences. So a PCV2a strain can be more pathogenic than another PCV2a strain. But overall, PCV2a and PCV2b do not cause different pathogenicity in pigs. When the PCV2d was discovered, a Chinese research group reported that PCV2d is more pathogenic than A and B. So we, in our research group, repeated that study, and we could not confirm that. In our hands, the PCV2d behaved very similar to the PCV2a and to the PCV2b, and that has also in the meantime been confirmed by other groups. So to summarize that, PCV2 strains can differ in virulence. However, there is no major difference in genotypes. Well, to go back to the PCV2 vaccine development, most of the vaccines against PCV2 have been designed at the end of 1999 and the beginning 2000. So most of the vaccines that are commercially available today, they are based on PCV2a. When the PCV2b emerged, those were vaccines that were available, and when put into pigs, they were able to protect pigs just nicely, and that's why vaccine companies kept them in the field. However, today we know that there is a real big diversity of PCV2 genotypes, and if one has a choice as a farmer, and if I would have a pig farm and I would have PCV2d in my pig farm, I certainly would prefer to use a vaccine that is based on PCV2d rather than PCV2a or PCV2b, because that's a general virology thing, you would use a homologous strain more likely than a strain that is more different to the strain that you have in your pigs.